Forget what Hollywood told you about the Old West. Behind the dust and the gunfights, women rewrote the rules of the game. Some carried guns, others built fortunes, and many challenged the law in a lawless land. Over the next 25 episodes, you're going to hear stories that school books chose to ignore. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single chapter of this journey. Number 1, Calamity Jane, Between the Saddle and the Rescue. Martha Jane Cannery learned to shoot before she learned to sew. By 13, she was already an orphan, taking care of her younger siblings in a territory where the law belonged to whoever drew faster. She chose to live the way she wanted. She wore pants, rode like a man, and worked as a scout for the army on routes many soldiers avoided. But here's what few people talk about. When smallpox swept through Deadwood in 1878, she didn't run. While others left the sick behind, Calamity went into the infected shacks, boiled cloths, cleaned wounds, and watched over feverish people night after night. The same woman who drank whiskey in saloons became a volunteer nurse. Courage in the Old West had many faces. Number 2, Belle Starr, the lady on the outlaw trails of the West. Myra Maybelle. Shirley grew up in Missouri during the Civil War, surrounded by Confederate guerrillas. By 20, she already knew the James brothers and the Youngers up close. She married a Cherokee outlaw and turned her farm into a hideout for wanted bandits. Belle mapped out escape routes, hid stolen horses, and knew how to cut deals with anyone who needed to disappear fast. The law arrested her twice, but it never managed to keep her locked up for long. 2 days before she turned 41, someone shot her in the back on a dirt road in Oklahoma. The killer vanished without a trace. To this day, no one knows who pulled the trigger. Number 3, Big Nose Kate, Doc Holliday's partner in crime. Mary Catherine Horoni came to the United States fleeing the war in Hungary. Orphaned at 15, she quickly learned that the frontier didn't go easy on the weak. In Arizona's saloons, she earned the nickname Big Nose Kate and a reputation as a woman who didn't take any nonsense. It was in one of those places that she met Doc Holliday, the tubercular dentist who traded his drill for a revolver. When Doc was arrested in Fort Griffin, Texas, accused of murder, Kate didn't wait for a trial. She set fire to a nearby shed, created the perfect chaos, and in the middle of the confusion, she broke her man out. The two of them ran off together that same night. Number 4, The Impossible Shot. In 1885, Annie Oakley joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show and changed everything. Her most famous trick: tossing a coin into the air and shooting a hole through it before it hit the ground. It sounds impossible, but she did it over and over, night after night. Riding a horse at a full gallop, she took down targets that trained men missed while standing still. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany asked her to shoot the ash off a cigarette in his own mouth. She hit it. Back then, women could barely vote, but Annie shut critics up with every spot-on shot. Her accuracy wasn't luck. It was thousands of hours of practice since she was 8 years old. Number 5. Mary Fields started delivering mail at 60, at a time when most people had already given up on everything. The United States Postal Service hired this black woman, nearly 2 meters tall, for one of the most dangerous routes in Montana. She carried a revolver, wasn't afraid of wolves or thieves, and they say she never missed a single delivery. When snow blocked the wagon route, she kept going on foot. Locals called her Stagecoach Mary. She lived to be 82, respected by everyone in that town. Number 6. Lottie Deno. In 1876, at a poker table in Fort Griffin, Texas, something happened that nobody expected. A red-haired woman named Lottie Deno went up against Doc Holliday, one of the most feared gamblers in the West. And she won. It wasn't luck. Lottie learned cards when she was young in Kentucky, the daughter of a professional gambler. When the Civil War tore her family apart, she took the only talent she had and headed to Texas. Men laughed when she sat down at the table. They stopped laughing when they lost everything. She never carried a gun. She never needed one. Her mind was her weapon. After building a fortune, she got married and became a respected citizen in New Mexico. Number 7. Pearl DeVere, the owner of the classiest saloon in Cripple Creek. In 1893, Cripple Creek was chaos, miners, mud, and easy money. Pearl DeVere saw an opportunity where others saw nothing but a mess. She opened the old homestead, a place that didn't seem to belong in that rough world. French champagne, imported furniture, and rules nobody dared to break. Pearl paid her girls on time, demanded they be treated with respect, and threw out anyone who crossed the line. Politicians and gold barons lined up to get in. When she died in 1897, the whole town stopped for her funeral. They say no one ever found out her real name. Number 8. Laura Bullion, the rose who fooled the West. Laura Bullion grew up surrounded by outlaws. Her father was a horse thief. Her grandfather stole cattle. By 15, she was already mixed up with bandits and soon became the only woman to take part in train robberies with Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch. She didn't stay hidden and wait. She went into the train cars, carried the stolen money, and crossed guarded territory disguised as a man. In 1901, the law finally caught up with her. She served her time and disappeared from view. Decades later, she died in Memphis, working as a seamstress. Her neighbors never knew who she had been. Number 9. Etta Place, the woman who vanished. She rode with the most famous outlaws of the Old West, but no one knows her real name. Etta Place showed up alongside the Sundance Kid around 1900, took part in bank and train robberies, and then just disappeared. In 1905, the three of them fled to Argentina, bought a ranch, and lived like ordinary farmers. But when the law got too close, Etta boarded a ship back to the United States and was never seen again. Butch and Sundance died in Bolivia in 1908, and her? Bounty hunters, Pinkerton detectives, and historians spent decades looking. Nothing. Zero. Some theories say she became a teacher in Texas, others that she died in obscurity. The truth? Nobody's figured it out to this day. Number 10. Madame Mustache, the lady who flipped the script. Eleanor Dumont came to California in the 1850s and soon opened her own 21 table. In a world of armed, drunk men, she kept the room under control with a steady stare and quick hands. The mustache that came with age became her trademark. Gamblers crossed states to take her on, and most walked out with empty pockets. She stacked up money, bought property, and lived the way she wanted for decades. But a disastrous marriage and bad business deals drained it all. In September 1879, her body was found near Bodie, California. The woman who ruled gambling tables for 30 years chose when to bow out. Number 11. Cathay Williams was born enslaved in Missouri and was forced to serve the Union Army during the Civil War. When the war ended, she did something nobody expected. She enlisted as a man using the name William Cathay. She became the first documented black woman to serve in the U.S. Army. For 2 years, she marched, fought, and kept her secret. Doctors examined her at least 3 times because of illness, but they only discovered the truth the last time. The Army discharged her immediately. After that, she worked as a cook and laundress in New Mexico, living in poverty until she died. Her request for a military pension was denied. Number 12. Sarah Winnemucca was born into a Paiute tribe in Nevada, but she did something few Native people managed back then. She learned English and Spanish fluently. The U.S. Army hired her as an interpreter, and that's where she saw the government's lies up close, promises of land, food, and protection that never showed up. Instead of staying quiet, Sarah went to Washington and gave more than 300 talks, calling it all out. She wrote the first book published by a Native woman in the United States. But here's the detail few people mention. Many people in her own tribe saw her as a traitor for working with the Army. Sarah died poor at 47, forgotten for decades. Number 13. Mary Ellen Pleasant. She arrived in San Francisco during the gold rush without a penny. Decades later, she controlled a fortune that would be worth millions today. The secret? Her restaurants were information traps. Bankers and politicians talked too much while they ate, and she listened to everything. Every conversation turned into a sure bet in real estate and stocks. But here's where it gets strange. Part of that money financed John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry, the one that almost sparked a war before the Civil War. The white elite called her Mammy Pleasant in the newspapers, trying to belittle her. It didn't work. When she died, nobody could prove where all that power came from. Number 14. Pearl Hart was born in Canada, but it was in Arizona that she became a legend. At just 22, she and Joe Boot held up a stagecoach in 1899. The weird detail? She cut her hair, dressed like a man, and pointed a .38 caliber gun at the passengers. They took $431 and vanished into the desert. But here's the crazy part. They got lost, and the police found them asleep out in the brush 3 days later. Pearl was arrested, but the Tucson jail didn't have a cell for a woman. She escaped once, was caught again, and when she finally got out of prison in 1902, she simply disappeared from history. No one knows for sure what happened to her after that. Number 15. Baby Doe Tabor was found frozen in 1935 at 81 years old in a falling-apart cabin near an abandoned mine in Leadville, Colorado. Decades earlier, she had been the most envied woman in the state. She married Horace Tabor, owner of silver mines worth millions, and lived surrounded by luxury few Americans could imagine. President Chester Arthur attended their wedding, but when silver collapsed in 1893, they lost everything. Horace died broke 6 years later. Baby Doe refused to leave the mine. She spent 36 years up there alone, enduring brutal winters, waiting for silver to come back. It never did. Number 16. Poker. Alice played cards with the most dangerous men in the Old West for more than 40 years and never lost her cool. She smoked cigars, carried a .38 revolver, and people said she won over $250,000 at a time when that was a king's fortune. She married 3 times, buried every husband, and kept right on playing. One night, a drunk soldier attacked her place, and she didn't think twice. She pulled her gun and fired. She was arrested, went to trial, and walked free. The judge said she acted in self-defense. At 79, she was still playing, and the law had already given up trying to stop her. Number 18. Elva Bender, the matriarch of terror in Kansas. In 1870s Kansas, the Bender family opened a roadside inn. Travelers stopped to eat and rest. Many were never seen again. The setup was simple. While their daughter Kate distracted the guest, Elvira gave the signal. A hammer to the head, the body dropped through a trap door. Then they buried them in the yard. When neighbors got suspicious, the family vanished overnight. They found 11 bodies in shallow graves. Elvira was over 60 and ran the whole thing. They were never caught. Some say they were secretly lynched. Others swear Elvira died of old age, free in another state. Number 19. Molly Brown grew up poor in Missouri with no formal education. At 18, she went to Colorado to try her luck. She married a miner who struck gold and became a millionaire overnight. But here's the detail most people don't know. She spent a big part of that fortune helping injured miners and widows. In 1912, she was on the Titanic when the ship went down. In lifeboat number 6, she grabbed the oars and rowed for hours in the freezing Atlantic. She threatened to throw the boat's officer overboard if he wouldn't turn back to pick up more people. That's how she got the nickname the Unsinkable. Number 20. Susan Anderson graduated as a doctor in 1897, at a time when men ran medicine. After losing everything to tuberculosis, she moved to Fraser, Colorado, an isolated little town more than 2,700 meters above sea level. For 50 years, Doc Susie treated miners, loggers, and poor families who had no way to pay. She rode through snowstorms on horseback or skied to reach her patients. Many times, she operated in cabins with no electric light, using kerosene and improvised tools. She charged whatever people could give, eggs, firewood, or simply nothing at all. She died at 90, pretty much forgotten. Number 21. Rose Dunn was 15 when she left everything behind to live with outlaws in the Oklahoma Territory. She got involved with George Newcomb, a gunman wanted in several states. The girl didn't stay hidden and wait around. When sheriffs surrounded the gang in 1893, Rose jumped on her horse and rode straight through the gunfight, bringing ammo to the outlaws. They arrested her soon after, but here's the part nobody really explains. Rose got out of jail way too fast. Some say her own brothers turned Newcomb in dead to collect the reward. Did Rose help set him up? Nobody ever proved anything. She married a politician and lived quietly into her 80s. Number 22. Carrie Nation was only 150 meters tall, but she scared men twice her size. She walked into bars with a little hatchet and wrecked everything in sight. It wasn't madness or a show. She swore God told her to put an end to the alcohol that was ruining families. Her first husband died because of drinking, and that stayed with her forever. Carrie was arrested more than 30 times, but she paid bail by selling souvenir hatchets. Saloon owners shook when they heard her train was coming into town. Many locked their doors, but it didn't always help. Number 23. The nun who disarmed Billy the Kid. Did you know Billy the Kid, the most feared outlaw in the Old West, was stopped by a 5-foot nun? Sister Blandina Segali arrived in New Mexico in 1872 and faced gunmen, epidemics, and gangs. When Billy swore he'd kill 4 doctors who refused to treat someone from his gang, she treated the injured man herself. Billy called off the revenge. Years later, when he was about to execute a man in a saloon, Sister Blandina walked in, stared the kid down, and asked him to lower his gun. He obeyed. No shot, no blood. The Catholic Church opened her beatification process in 2014. Number 24. In 1851, Olive Oatman was 13 when Yavapai Indians massacred almost her entire family in the Arizona desert. She and her sister were captured and later sold to the Mojave. There, they tattooed her chin with permanent blue lines, a mark she would carry for the rest of her life. 5 years later, soldiers rescued her. But here's the detail most people don't know. Olive cried when she was taken from the tribe. Some historians believe she had a Mojave husband and possibly children. Back in the white world, she became a circus attraction. She charged admission to tell her story while people stared at her tattoo. Number 25. Molly Monahan drove stagecoaches at a time when women couldn't even vote. That alone would have made headlines. But there's more. She carried a gun and knew how to use it. One day, 2 bandits tried to stop her stagecoach on a lonely bend in the road. Most drivers would hand everything over without a fight. Molly didn't. She pulled her gun, fired a warning shot, and the thieves ran off. The incident was officially recorded by the Postal Service. Passengers paid more to ride with her. Why? Because they knew they'd arrive alive. In a lawless land, a woman with a steady hand was worth more than 10 armed men.